talking about the Proxima Centauri B, right? Is there any technology right now for us, even with the one you were talking about, the telescope, or the new one that they're coming out with, where you're going to be able to look at it and say, what is there? That's a lake. That's an ocean. That's a mountain. Is there anything like that that'll be here by 2040?
Not unless we do something radical. So there are some interesting ideas. So one crazy idea, which maybe you like, is the idea of turning the sun into a telescope. And I've certainly proposed a similar idea of turning the Earth into a telescope. I'll tell you the sun one first. So the sun is a gravitational mass. And so all gravitational masses bend light. So actually, if you go all the way back to, I think, 1929, Arthur Eddington, who won the Nobel Prize, I believe, for this, showed that for the first time. During a total eclipse, he took a photo of a star that was close by to the sun, and then he took the same photo of the star at a different time, and you notice it shifted position because the sun, when things are close to the sun's gravity bends light into a curve around them. So gravity bends stuff. Now, anything that bends light is a lens. So just the same way, if you're wearing glasses or a magnifying glass, it's just bending light. Sure. So the sun can be a lens. You just have to find the focus point. Now, the focus point ends up being way beyond the orbit of Pluto. So this is in the very outskirts of the solar system. But in principle, if we flew out there 500, 600 times further away from the sun than the Earth orbits the sun, so really far out there is a point which is a focus point, and that's a gravitational lens where we could put a telescope and it would effectively collect the entire power of the sun in terms of the amount of light it could receive. Now, that thing could resolve kilometer scale, rivers, lakes, mountains, that kind of stuff on the surface.
That's what we need. I mean, we need to see what's out there, right?
Yeah. So this is an interesting proposal. It's very difficult to fly that far away from the Earth and have infrastructure. It's just kind of a little bit sci-fi at this point to have significant space infrastructure that far out from the sun. The furthest thing we have is like Voyager 2, which is now basically dilapidated. It's falling apart. We can barely hold on to simple transmission with it. It has these magnetic tapes which are falling apart on it. Its batteries are running out. So, it's very difficult to have stuff out there, but that would be the ultimate telescope. And so I think if there are aliens out there, that would be the telescope they would build, because you can't build a better telescope than an entire star.
Can that happen during our lifetime?
It would take an enormous investment.
What's enormous?
I think you'd be looking at, Apollo era levels of funding for this single objective. So you're probably talking about, maybe $200 billion, something like that. So
what? I mean, what $200 billion is what is worth to us? Apollo was what? $25.8 billion in 1960. Right? Between 1960 and 73, approximately $257 billion when adjusted to inflation. I got you. Okay. Yeah. So $250 billion to do this. The question then becomes, if you put all the countries together, the top ones, top 20 powerful, US, China, Russia, you take France, Germany, all the guys that have money, India, and you say, hey guys, collectively, let's do this. Yeah. What is it worth for us to know if there's civilization out there?
Yeah, it's hard to answer the question, what is the value of blue sky research sometimes? I know people ask that a lot. What is the value of NASA? But look, here's the thing. Every dollar that we put into NASA, on average, returns to the economy, estimates vary, but between $7 and $14 per dollar.
How do they measure that?
By looking at the patents, the material development. I think you look at medicine, materials, communications, environmental monitoring, and even tech consumer products.
You know what that does to me, Rob? Here's what it makes me think about.
In these uncertain times, if there's anything we need people to believe the future looks bright. So if you've heard about me saying this mission to you, we're on a mission to get 1 million people to wear this gear, and this is what we're doing. If you buy one of these hats, there's a category of buying one hat, getting the second one free. If you haven't yet worn this gear publicly, go ahead and test it out. Buy some of the gear, wear it in public, and see how many people will stop by and say, you also watch a Value Tim? You also follow PBD Podcast? I do too. Place your order. Go to vtmerch.com, click on the link above or below, place your order, and represent the VT and the PBD Podcast gear.
Do you know who AOC is in America?
Yeah.
Okay. AOC wants us to put $30 trillion with Bernie Sanders. Type in climate change, $30 trillion. Okay. Now, if you put climate change, $30 trillion, right? That is their plan. Zoom in a little bit so I can read it. Overall global damage are estimated to be $38 trillion with a likely range of 19 to 59 trillion dollars, right? But I'm talking about the Green Deal. Green Deal. Yeah, just put that in there. let's see what comes up. So the plan was, it was going to cost us, the U.S., $30 trillion. Can you find that, Rob? Somewhere just type in AOC climate change, $30 trillion. So this whole thing that was proposed with $30 trillion, just control F30 to see if you find it or not. Okay, maybe I'm going to find it, Rob. But this whole thing with $30 trillion that was proposed to us for climate change, okay, there is no promises like what it's going to do. There wasn't like, you know, here's what we need to do. Here's what we're going to get. This is what it's going to come with it, right? There was nothing like that. It was a lot of, you know, wishy-washy promises of what it is. But if you sat there, and I'm telling you, you told the taxpayers, hey guys, let me tell you what we're going to do. Would you like to know once and for all if there is civilization out there? You want to know if there's aliens? Guess what? No more Area 51. No more anything like that. What if we could tell you on every single planet out there, if there's water, ocean, people living, aliens, any of that stuff, what if we could do something? What would be that worth to you? Then the taxpayer would be able to sit there and say, I think a lot. Okay, cool. If it's worth a lot to you, is it worth $250 billion over the next 20 years? I think so. So here's what it's going to cost. We have to collectively pay for this. U.S. has committed to the $250 billion is going to, you know, 70 billion of it's going to be U.S. China's committed to this much, and this is committed to this much, and here's what we're going to do with the next 20 years. I think a lot of people would be for it.
Yeah, you're singing my praises. I would love that to be true, for sure. I think I do have some, I mean, A is, can we collaborate with these other nations, right? Because collaboration internationally, especially on these science projects, has been at an all-time low. It's really struggling right now because of all the political challenges that the world is facing. So that's one issue. Another issue is, you know, I'm not sure that the US public are as enthusiastic about planets as maybe you might imagine. There was a Pew poll in 2023, for instance, that showed that about 69% of Americans do believe that NASA and America should be a leader in space. But there was a number in there in this 2023 Pew poll, maybe you can try and dig it up, that found that it was something like 16, 17% thought that looking for life in the universe or looking at planets was an important priority. So there were people out there who do think it's cool science and worth doing, but I don't think it's most people's top priority. I think you normally think about tourism, space tourism, maybe, having human astronauts go to Mars, things like this, and maybe higher priorities. Obviously, I feel like looking at planets and life in the universe is incredibly important, but...
so what did people say? What was the percentage of people that are interested in that?
I think it was around 16, 17%, something like this, that thought that looking for life around planets was a top priority. 16
or 17%?
Around this kind of number, yeah. But that was from memory. I looked this a while back. There you go, yeah.
Search for life and planets that could support 16%. What's the light blue? The lightest blue and the middle one? What is it? So top priority, important, but lower priority and not too important. Okay, so let's just say 16 plus 44. 60% is somewhat important, right?
But what do you think it was during the Apollo era? Because that's the comparison. During the Apollo era, what fraction of Americans thought that getting to the moon was more important?
Who was president at the time?
Right, so there you go.
Who was the president?
During the moon landings?
Apollo era, who was the president at the time? John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, well, he not during the moon landings.
I know he did, but he sold it, right? So meaning someone has to cast a vision. So say I'm a president and I get up and I say, listen, so many of you want to know about aliens, right? I would literally talk to the American people. I say, you want to know about aliens? How much you want to know about aliens? All of you guys are interested in Area 51. What do you want me to do? You want me to go into Area 51, grab a camera here and just kind of do it live and show you everything? Of course we can't do that. But how about this? What if instead of us sitting here claiming, give us $95 trillion to fix climate change, which is not even a guarantee, and you're going to have to pay all this money for the next 20, 30 years. What if I can tell you hard cost, $250 billion, next 20 years, we're able to build a telescope to put it, you know, next to whatever planet it is for us to be able to look at every single planet out there to find out where is there actual civilization or aliens living there. What is that worth to you? I would like, as a president, for us to be able to figure that out and get the answers to you within 2 decades, because that could protect our civilization. I think today, If the right president sold that, I don't know why. Maybe I don't know what's in. Maybe they put shrooms in this tea. Maybe there's ayahuasca. Rob, what'd you put in this tea, Rob? Did you put something in there? Maybe it's what I'm eating right now.
But I love the enthusiasm. I'm not going to argue with you.
I would love to know,
it'd be great.
but who would say no to that, though? I really think so many people. Okay, so let me go back to another thing you said earlier. So you said the Earth has roughly 1 billion years left. Okay.
Yeah, for complex life.
For complex, what is complex life? Like
multicellular, not just bacteria. I think beyond that, you can imagine some bacteria clinging on in caves and deep underground. But yeah, creatures, animals like us, I think there's less than 1 billion years.
In about 1 billion years, no matter what we do, everybody's wiped out.
Yeah, it's actually CO2 exhaustion that wipes us out, strangely enough.
CO2 exhaustion.
It's because we lose CO2.
Because of us using it ourselves?
No. It's what happens is as the sun increases in luminosity, this has actually been going on its entire history. So in the Earth, people often say, well, the Earth had much higher levels of CO2 in its past. It's true. But the sun was cooler in its past. It wasn't as luminous. And they're anti-correlated to each other. So as the sun increases in luminosity, you have this CO2-rich ball of atmosphere around the Earth. That as it gets more and more luminous, it causes more evaporation of the oceans, and then you get this rainfall come down. As the rain comes down, it dissolves carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and you form carbonic acid.
Sure.
That then hits the ground and forms limestones. So carbon gets pulled out of the atmosphere from precipitation and other weathering processes, and it basically gets locked up underground. And that is forced by the sun's increased luminosity. So as you increase the luminosity of the sun, you decrease the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We've seen that throughout history, and it will continue to happen. What eventually will happen, that CO2 levels will drop below about 10 ppm. So currently it's about 400 ppm in the atmosphere. Eventually it will fall below 10 ppm. Once that happens, plant photosynthesis ends.
At what point do we die? At 10?
About 10, just because you can't have photosynthesis anymore.
And we're at 400 right now.
Yeah.
So between 400 and 10, we're okay?
Yeah. Well, plants are okay. It's not really so much us, it's just you can't have plants. If you can't have plants, you can't have us.
Okay, and then the sun. When you look at the articles, you'll read articles saying the fact that the sun's got 5 billion years left, right? I mean, it says, when will the sun die? And you'll kind of pull it up, and there's a bunch of different articles written about it. Here's what will happen when our sun dies. Billion years from now, right? It says 5 billion years.
Yeah.
The sun gives energy to life on Earth, and without the star, we wouldn't be here. But even stars have limited lifetimes, and someday our sun will die. You don't need to worry about the solar death anytime soon. It's likely not to happen for the next 5 billion years, et cetera, okay? So Earth, 1 billion. Sun, 5 billion, according to what we read. Maybe you can correct me, and it's a different number. Climate change is a big topic. Okay, a lot of people are talking about climate change. You give me $93 trillion, I can fix the problem for you. I mean, a lot of politicians in America, I don't know if you're in your country, you have politicians in our country.
Well, I'm American. I'm an American now.
I mean, UK, where you came from.
I originally am British, but now I'm naturalized.
Where are you based out of?
New York.
Okay, so here you see it with all the politicians that want all the money to be able to fix climate change. As an astrophysicist, you're not a politician. You're not a political guy. You're a scientist. Right, you're an astrophysicist. When you hear politicians make promises that they can fix climate change with $93 trillion, I'm curious, how do you process that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a political question, so I'm not an expert in politics. What I believe is true is that the atmosphere is being affected by human activity on this planet, and we are fundamentally altering the chemical composition of our planetary atmosphere. That is a very dangerous experiment that we are doing. And we are not sure what the consequences of that will be. But many of our models, our best models of the projections, generally look very bad for the future in terms of the economic impact and hardship it will have on the US, but all over the world. I mean, you're seeing it already. Like I know in Florida, like where we are right now, a lot of insurers are running out of the state, right?
No
and running out of
question.
Miami.
You're in California.